Hello again. Happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day to my fellow Americans. It's been a little while. I started posting videos again a little bit earlier this week, just as I had hoped I would, but the circumstances surrounding some of my video plans upon returning to the channel this July have been, how shall we say, much different than I had predicted, to say the least. I thought it would make sense to update you all on what life has been like the past couple of months for me and the big changes that have come recently along with them. The big announcement of sorts, and if you want to consider that an announcement or whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm unemployed now. Now, I know that's a sudden change, just like I said, but let me explain a little bit of the situation. To keep it relatively brief, I survived the overhaul that I had been talking about for a good little while. As I had kind of explained, at various different points in time over the past few months, really, my real life work does a thing every once in a while, or did a thing since I don't work there anymore. Every once in a while that we liked to call overhaul, and that would last for, a number of weeks, up to a couple of months usually. There's a bunch of extra people around, just a busier schedule as a rule. I survived the primary portion of it as it happened from mid-April through until the end of May. Thank goodness for that. But furthermore, following the actual overhaul itself, I had mentioned in a video that I posted right about a month ago that I was taking some time off, that I would see you all again in July. It's now July, that's why I've started posting again. It's been that month of the hiatus. But I mentioned in that hiatus video that I needed to take some time off from the channels over here and over on King Crusoe II to recover from that time and stress associated with overhaul. And that first week of June, I also took a week-long vacation to coincide, to get a little bit of a breather, because that was a long couple of months there. It was a very long and just tiring couple of months. It didn't really get much of anything done, it felt like, for basically the entirety of spring. Thanks to the people who wished me well on the time off, both from real life work and also taking the YouTube hiatus, and thank you for the welcome back to those of you who have wished it. My sincerest thanks and appreciations for all of that. But going back to the story a little bit, when I got back from vacation, there were some pretty big changes to several facets of both my home life and my work life that necessitated, in some sense, some manner of change for me. A different work schedule and other things associated with position changes occurring, at my work site later in the year affected a lot of my personal scheduling and future plans in ways that I just really was not particularly keen on, both on a personal level, on a work-life level, on a personal hobby level like YouTube, and various other things like that. Then, apart from all of that, some family changes I learned about pretty shortly thereafter also necessitated some changes of their own. In the end, I determined that the timing of too many things were lining up a little bit too serendipitously to just be coincidence for me, and it felt like the right time to leave my job, to leave that work site, and so that's what I did. As of July 1st, 2025, I am unemployed. That is a very weird feeling for several reasons, but don't worry, this isn't a pity party of any sort. Part of the reason why I was willing to take this leap of faith here and at this point in time is because I'm not by any means in a really bad state financially right now. I'll be fine for a good while yet. As such, I'm simply going to take the opportunity over the next couple of years while I have a good bit of buffer room now to just kind of double down and work harder on personal business ventures. This includes my freelance work, so copy editing and stuff like that primarily, which I aim to expand and market a little bit more over the coming years. But it also includes, seeing what I can make happen with YouTube and other similar types of stuff. I don't think that would ever be a viable way to go, is just with YouTube and that kind of stuff. But if I can make it a good support tool, then that's what I aim to accomplish. So I have no idea how things will actually go over the next couple years, and it is certainly a bit nerve-wracking in its own way, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how some of these things go. But now it's time to talk about this channel itself, what I normally do for State of Affairs. I was, for fairly obvious reasons, really nervous about taking an entire month off from posting new content on either of my channels. Really, I think I only posted 1 or 2 videos on each channel in June, and all of that stuff we will talk about in due time here later. But as of now, it seems most of my fears about taking a month off were mostly, if not entirely, unfounded. At least that's the impression that I have at the moment. So let's jump into things right now. Though I should first mention, actually, that now State of Affairs comes out on both the main channel and the second channel. You probably noticed that if you are subscribed to both channels, or if you're only subscribed to the second channel. Hello, this isn't my first time doing a State of Affairs. I do this actually every month on my main channel. Now it's going to be coming out on the second channel as well. Fortnite on the Isle, my bi-weekly update series, will also be coming out on the second channel now as well. So those are a couple of the big noticeable changes to my content here now in this back half of 2025. P.S. My apologies for how long this video will end up being, but that is more than enough prelude for now. Let's actually jump into the King Crusoe State of Affairs. So, the last couple months videos and highlights to talk about. On the main channel, I posted 15 videos over the last couple of months. 14 of those were in May. 1 of those was in June. That June video was literally just my hiatus announcement thing. Came out on the first day of the month, so can hardly consider it really having come out in June proper. On the second channel, I posted 8 videos over the last couple of months. 6 of those were in May. 2 of those were in June, but 1 of those was just this past Monday on the 30th, so the very last day of the month. Again, barely even in June, and the other one of those was just the last episode of the Remnant 2 Let's Play, which had already been done long ahead of time. So realistically, I basically did not produce any new content for June on either of my channels, at least for my purposes. But even so, there are a couple of video highlights to talk about here. On the main channel, some of the better performing or my favorite videos that I released over the course of the month were my Wheel of Time Diary episode number 46, which was the final one talking about the Path of Daggers. I did my top 15 books of all time in the end of May. I did my top 5 book series of all time at the end of May as well, and those 2 videos quickly became some of my most successful videos on the channel, which isn't that much of a surprise. What is a surprise that my top 15 books of all time video is like it's not quite twice as many views at this point, but it'll probably be within like a month or something, have twice as many views as my next highest viewed video next to that. So did very well for myself, and posting those 2 videos at the very end of May were the main reason why this channel was still successful in June, even though I was worried about what was going to be happening. But I thought that actually ended up being some pretty serendipitous timing there for posting those 2 videos, because making those like here's my favorite books and here's my favorite book series, and then I take my month-long hiatus, it's like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good way to end that little chapter of the channel, I suppose, if you wanted to call it that. And I'm sort of considering that because now my life is in a new chapter, so that's funny how things go that way. But on the second channel, I finished the Remnant 2 Let's Play over May, and then the last episode in June, so that's something that happened over there. The only other video that I did produce over the last couple of months on the second channel was my review of Sleep Tokens Even in Arcadia, which quickly became pretty sure my highest performing video on the second channel, bar none, and did really well for itself. So thank you everybody who checked any and all of these videos out. So jumping into the actual statistics, like I said, there's a couple months worth to go through. I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as possible, but I just want to give a heartfelt thank you for all of the support on both of my channels, especially this main channel over here. It's been a really wild ride the last couple months, being able to see what went down in May, due in no small part to those couple videos that I talked about earlier. I had by far my best performing month in every metric, except for 2 technically, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I had 3,507 views in May, 407.5 watch hours, about 98,000 impressions, and then a net gain of, I believe, 65 subscribers that month. So that was my highest performing view count and watch hour count by no small margin on either end. And my impressions were a little bit lower than I think 1 or maybe 2 other record-breaking months, but that lower impression count by having more views means that like my actual click-through rate and also my average view duration were higher than normal this month. So as far as everything goes, my actual statistics were like record breaking in every regard. Net gain of 65 subscribers in June was also tied with December of 2024 for my best performing month in terms of subscribers gained. But I think June actually technically has an edge there, because the first like 5 days of June, I was actually at a net loss of like 3 or 4 subscribers that first week for some reason that I actually don't fully understand. I think it might be the hiatus announcement or something like that might have done that. Not entirely sure, but considering that I had a net loss actually for several days early on in the month, and then still managed to have record-breaking subscriber or record-tying subscriber gain over the month, means that I actually gained a good bit more to offset that count. So that's honestly really awesome. In June, I got 2,436 views, which I believe is my second best month. If it is not my second best month in terms of views, it is definitely my third best month, even without posting any new videos. Only posting one, but you know what I mean. 270.9 watch hours, which is my second best performing month in that metric. And then only 38,631 impressions, but considering that, again, I literally only posted that one video on the first day of the month, and that was it. That's actually not a bad impression count, and considering the view count again, my click-through rate and watch average view duration, those types of metrics were still higher, and those kinds of metrics being better is technically better for the channel. And then I had another net subscriber gain of, I believe, 40 subscribers in June. So a total net gain of 105 subscribers over the last couple of months, putting my total at 946 before July. At the time that I'm recording this, it's even above that because Tuesday's video garnered a few extra subs, but between the cutoff of June and July, I got up to 946 subscribers. Thank you all. On the second channel, I got 1,272 views in May, 251.4 watch hours, and 24,889 impressions. It's a pretty similar situation as the main channel here, where the views and the watch hours, I think, were record-breaking in May in both of those metrics. The impressions weren't record-breaking, but just implies that I had a better click-through rate and all of that kind of stuff going on. And I had a net gain of 6 subscribers in May. In June, on the second channel, I had 252 views, 79.5 watch hours, and then about 7,900 impressions. So definitely much starker decrease between the months on the second channel than on the main channel, but that kind of makes sense considering that the second channel didn't have any like my favorite things videos or whatever to rely on in order for that contrast to really show itself. But overall, still did very well for itself. I'm very happy about my general performance on both channels, and I really appreciate everybody who has given me a shot. And I hope that you continue to enjoy what I've got coming on in the future, because let me just tell you, we got some exciting things going on. We'll get to that at the end of this video. As for the writing, what have I gotten written over the last couple months? Well, unfortunately, I've not really written much of anything, and this, if you've been on the main channel and if you've been watching State of Affairs and stuff like that, you know that I haven't really done a lot of writing for a long time. Definitely not in the fiction sense, where it's still been 0 words over the last 2 months combined. But a lot of that's because, you know, I had overall over April and May, and preparing for that in even March to a degree, kind of reduced some of those things. But having the overhaul and then deciding to take a month off from making content, and content being no small motivator, no small, you know, reason for doing a good amount of the writing that I do, it turned out that that was just kind of, you know, how things have gone. I just haven't really gotten to do very much. But in terms of like reviews, I did still write a 3,400 word review for Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Rocchio, the last book in the Sun Eater. I got early access to read that in June and posted that very late in the month. Or yeah, very late in the month of June. And we'll be posting a review of that over on the main channel, video version of that review very soon. Looking forward to that. But that's all the book-related reviews that I got written. I wrote technically like 10,500 words, somewhere in that range for music-related stuff. About 6,100 of those words, I'm pretty sure, were for the Sleep Token review that I talked about earlier, the Even in Arcadia review over on the second channel. The rest of that was all just stuff that I was writing for like Music Board. Some of those reviews didn't fully get written. I haven't really touched Music Board for, Music Mania stuff in a couple months. I just haven't had time since like middle of April or maybe even before that to really do anything regarding that site. So any other words that I wrote technically in a music review sense or whatever, I can't really even talk about it here. It's not proper. So it's like, yeah, I kind of wrote those words, but they exist. The Sleep Token review was really the only substantial amount that I got written. But then as for game reviews, again, a case of like I didn't really have time to do any of that over the past few months. But now that I have a little bit more time open to me, you'll be seeing a little bit more of some of this stuff going on here pretty soon. So we'll talk about that in due time. Same thing with film reviews. I haven't written any over the last couple of months, but I have one that I actually need to write pretty much right after I'm done with this video that I need to prepare for next Monday, actually, over on the second channel. So we'll talk about some more of these things a little bit later as well. As for this month, some of the things that I have on the docket for July, top of mind. On the content side of things, I'm, coming to a freelance/creative routine balance now that I don't have work interfering with a schedule. I'm coming up with my own personal schedule for doing some of my own personal work, as well as doing things like YouTube, other hobbies, coming to that balance and kind of learning to a degree as I go what it is that I'm actually going to be prioritizing, what sections of the day are for what and stuff, just coming up with my own work schedules, kind of freeing and kind of strange as well. This month, I've also got to be writing some more scripts and stuff for second channel content, things like I talked about, reviews and the like. I'm looking forward to writing some more scripts for the second channel, coming back around to some series that I haven't been able to work on for years on account of work or just on account of like focusing a little bit too much on some other types of content or whatever have you. I'm excited to be able to spend some time doing some more things that I haven't done for a little while. Like I said, I want to improve some of my book reviews on the main channel, just kind of broad scale, and make those a little bit more effortful. Same with the other book binge content, same with just all of my normal on-screen content. I want to just be a little bit better prepared for, instead of just taking roughshod notes. I want to have things be a little bit more organized, a little bit more direct, a little bit more just intentional. I want to be more intentional with my videos, being more intentional about their actual quality versus being so adherent to a video schedule. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be following a schedule to some degree. Schedules matter to me, especially on the main channel where I've kind of made it a thing for the book binge for my primary series on the main channel to actually have like a pretty consistent release schedule. Having a consistent release schedule also is one of the things that motivates me to actually do things. I am naturally a very, I can't remember the word off the top of my head right now, procrastinator. I am a big procrastinator. Just naturally speaking, if I don't have deadlines for things that I need to do, or if I don't care about doing things to meet a deadline, then I just straight up will never do them. That's why certain things have been on the back burner for like years at this point. So, I'm still going to be sticking to schedules and like kind of planning release dates and stuff for different things, just even if they're arbitrary, solely so that I can work on the things, but I do still want to be a little bit more intentional about video quality, like I said, as opposed to following a release schedule like the end all be all. If a video is going to be absolute garbage because I simply haven't had time to work on it, I'm not going to insist on releasing it that day. So, just wanting to follow through on some of those desires, I guess, is what all this rambling has to say. I also want to make my updates and stuff, as I kind of mentioned, a little bit more clear and concise. Even if they don't have to be, the most polished videos in the world, I do want them to be a little bit better and to make more sense in terms of how they're structured and how I convey that information to some degree. Like I said, State of Affairs and Fortnite on the Isle, both of my major update series on the main channel up to this point, are going to be on both channels moving forward, at least for the next little while, as I kind of experiment with things. I just feel like it's a good idea to do that so that anybody who's subscribed primarily to one channel and doesn't care about the content on the other or whatever can still see some of the things that I'm working on, still get some of those updates. Those are some of the ideas of content-related things that I'm working on this month. Some non-content things that I want to work on this month that I want to put a short-term focus on in the month of July is properly setting up and starting to utilize the Seasonal Productions social media channels. All of those links are in the description below of this video. Most of those have been essentially entirely unused for as long as they've existed, which is kind of, a detriment on my part. All this time I could have been doing something with social media to advertise the channels or whatever else I've got going on, and I've kind of not succeeded on that front over the last 3.5 years of doing this whole YouTube thing. But since I've gotten rid of my personal social medias on my phone and feel like I want to advertise personal business related stuff, just kind of as a rule, I feel like I should actually go ahead and start using social media for the business and actually get around to doing that. And that would all be set up on my workstation instead of on my phone so that I don't waste time. So we'll see what I can get organized with the social media stuff, but I do really want to get social media stuff set up so that I can try to market myself to some degree over the near future. Some other things that I would like to set up and get organized, maybe not this month in July, but start getting set up, start getting organized, start getting ready to kind of look at and overhaul over the rest of the summer, say. Some of those things are like actually revitalizing the website, which I've been saying that for a couple of years now at this point. It's something that I just have felt super guilty about personally. It's just like, I've done nothing with the website. I've not been updating it. I've not done a very good job of really working on that to any degree for the last couple of years. So I want to get back on that train here now that I have a little bit of time to, and further incentive because of personal business wanting to expand freelance work and stuff like that. I have a reason to actually work on the website now and maybe even make some deadlines for myself in some way so that I actually work on it. We'll see how that goes. That's something that I want to look at this summer. Alongside that, I also kind of want to work a little bit on my Discord server, again, to go alongside the website. That one's probably a little bit less priority than the website for now. I just need to get that set up, and then I can set up community-based stuff later. And then I would also like to set up various other auxiliary kind of stuff, whatever that may be in terms of personal business and marketing and whatever the case may be. Like I said, I also just want to start marketing my freelance business to some degree a little bit, maybe over the summer, or at least get the channels for doing that set up so that I can do that very soon anyway. I want to be able to market some freelance stuff like copy editing, doing that a little bit on the main channel where I primarily talk about book related stuff. So that's where I talk about that. I wouldn't talk about copy editing books on the second channel, at least not in their own unique videos or anything like that. Obviously setting up the website to facilitate some personal marketing in that way, marketing myself on other platforms and social media, whatever other opportunities that may otherwise arrive. So if you are interested, I guess I could say this now, if you're interested in hiring a copy editor for your work, email me. My business email is in the link or in the description down below. Just email me and we can try to talk and start organizing some things if you're interested. But otherwise, I just got to get things set up so that I can market myself a little bit more directly. And that's something that I'm looking forward to. Also kind of nervous about, but hey, I've got a couple years to try to make something happen. So yeah, that is going to be the end of the update. I'm sorry, this has been a half-hour long recording, probably going to be a 25+ minute long video at this point. I apologize for the length of it again, but I did have a lot to actually get through in this one. And hello to everybody watching this on the second channel. If there are any of you guys, I really appreciate you checking this out. I really appreciate everybody who's come around to the channels the last couple months while my life and everything has been pretty chaotic. I'm looking forward to making the back half of 2025 a very successful and good one. I appreciate everybody for checking out this video, like I said, and I appreciate everybody for being willing to stick around for whatever I post in the future. If you want a little bit more of an idea of what I've got coming out over the next couple of weeks, both on the main channel and the second channel, this Sunday will be my return to A Fortnight on the Isle, my bi-weekly update series, where I go over, some of the things that I've been doing over the last couple weeks, and also talking about the videos that I've got coming out over the coming couple of weeks. So this Sunday will be my first one of those, and my first one of those on the second channel. So I hope you are willing to watch that if you're interested in seeing what I've got on the docket here in the next 2 weeks. Thank you one final time for watching this video. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys there.